Javan Robinson might be one of the sneakiest cornerback evaluations going into this college football season. He's a redshirt senior with 36 games of college experience, starting experience at Arizona State, a transfer to Wisconsin, a raw athlete, and some of the best run defense tape you'll see from a 5'11", 180-pound corner. 2024 started 14 games, had 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, and a Peach Bowl interception. 2025 came back with 42 tackles, 8 pass breakups, only 2 missed tackles all season, and the kind of physicality it makes him feel like he plays bigger than his frame. But the evaluation is not perfect. The size is smaller than ideal for an outside NFL corner. Bigger receivers can test him. And his best next level fit might be nickel or very scheme zone corner specific. So today we're breaking down Javan Robinson, my cornerback 9, why Wisconsin may have landed a major transfer, and why his 2026 Big Ten tape could send him flying up the draft boards. But before we get into all that, make sure you hit the like button, follow, subscribe, as we keep putting in the work here on Draft Yoda on our road to 100 prospects before college football kicks off. What's going on? Welcome back to Draft Yoda. Javan Robinson's currently sitting at an 8.79 out of 10, number 73 overall, cornerback number 9. And this is one of those cornerback evaluations where the role matters almost as much as the talent, because you're not looking at the classic long 6'2" outside press corner with elite size. That's not his profile. That's not Javan Robinson. 5'11", around 180 pounds. He's probably going to be viewed by a lot of NFL teams as a nickel corner or a very scheme-specific zone corner. But here's the thing. That role has value. Nickel is basically a starting position in modern football. You need corners that can tackle, cover in space, break on the ball, who can play fast, process fast, survive against spread offenses. And that's where Robinson gets interesting. He has experience, twitch, speed, run defense value, and tackling reliability. And he has enough courage and instincts to make you pay attention. Started his career in Orlando, Florida, at West Orange High School. Had multiple chapters of his career. Went to Washington State, then moved to Arizona State, and just recently transferred to Wisconsin. It gives him one of those more experienced profiles in the cornerback group. 36 games in college is a lot of experience. Multiple programs, multiple defenses, multiple coaching staffs, multiple roles. That matters. Cornerback's a position where experience can be a separator. You can learn route combinations. You can learn receiver tendencies. And you can learn how quarterbacks attack leverage. And with that kind of experience, you can step onto a field day one and not need a bunch of excess stuff to learn a system. Arizona State is where the resume really starts to build. 2024, he started 14 games, finished with 43 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, and had an interception in the Peach Bowl. It's a strong season. The interception production matters because it shows he can finish plays on the football. A corner who can be sticky, but never takes away the ball. The ceiling gets capped. Robinson shows he has some ball production. He also made game-sealing plays at Arizona State, including a fourth quarter interception against BYU. And that matters because big moments matter. If you're going to play corner, you have to be willing to live in pressure. Late game, ball in the air, crowds loud, game on the line. And Robinson has made those plays. 2025, profile shifted a little bit. 42 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, no interceptions, but 8 pass breakups, only 2 missed tackles all season. Tells you a few things. The ball production dropped from interceptions to pass breakups, which is something to watch, you know. But the tackling became a major strength for him. Only 2 missed tackles across the entire year is an outstanding for a corner, you know. And the physicality remained a big part of his game. He's not a corner who wants to avoid contact. He will trigger, he will tackle, he will play the run, he will come downfield. And at 180 pounds, that matters because he plays much bigger than what he's listed at. The transfer to Wisconsin is the next big chapter for him. It's the proving ground after Arizona State. Big Ten is going to test him in a different way. You know, more physical receivers, more condensed formations, more perimeter run game stress, more tight ends, more teams that will make defensive backs tackle. And it's a great proving ground for him. You know, Wisconsin is also a program that should appreciate his physical side. If you're going to play corner there, you better be willing to tackle. You better be willing to fit the run, and you better be willing to play tough football. You know, he has a raw athletic traits. The speed, acceleration, and agility all show up in the way he moves. You know, if you follow EA Sports, their college football has him as a 92 speed, 94 acceleration, 92 agility. You know, now those are not official combine numbers, but that's people that have watched tape and given him a rating. You know, they've seen the twitch, they've seen the suddenness, they've seen the close, they've seen the redirect, and put it into a value. And that's valuable, you know, because it shows the twitch. It shows everything else. You know, he has fluid mechanics. He does not look like a stiff corner who has to gather himself before changing directions. That's important for a nickel. You know, inside the game happens fast. Slot receivers have two-way releases. They can break it off. They can split the space. They can run route, and they can run option routes, and they attack leverage. A nickel corner has to be quick enough to mirror and smart enough to process. And Robinson gives you that suddenness. He can plant and drive. He can close through windows. And he can trigger downhill when a quarterback commits. He can also trigger downhill on a run game. And for a guy who's 180 pounds, I know I keep saying that, you don't see a guy that's 180 pounds that tackles like this. You know, the average depth of tackle is 1.7 yards. It tells you he's not catching defenders downfield. You know, he's triggering quickly, ending plays before they come, expensive for the defense. And that's rare for a corner, you know, especially a corner his size. Somebody that comes down like that. It shows a lot of football IQ. Robinson's instincts, how he breaks on the ball, how he understands when to trigger, and his making big plays in key moments, you know, show the IQ and the instincts. And 36 games of college football gives him a lot of route inventory, a lot of concepts, a lot of foundations, and a lot of times seeing a quarterback try to manipulate coverage. Now he's at Wisconsin. He gets another year to sharpen that mental side. And for a player who may project inside, personally to me, he will. Instincts are going to matter. And the amount of snaps you've played are going to definitely matter, because it will help you see what's coming and react sooner, quicker, and faster. You know, nobody's perfect. There's stuff everybody can work on. Unfortunately, he can't work on his size. 5'11", 180 pounds. You know, he's not tiny, but he's lighter than teams usually want from standard outside boundary corners. You know, NFL receivers are big. They're long, they're physical, they play through contact. They can win back shoulder throws. They can box out smaller corners, and that's a concern. If Robinson is living outside against bigger perimeter receivers, the size can show up. He has to prove he can survive those mismatches, And that's why many teams are going to have him as a nickel, at least to start. You know, the target vulnerability against bigger receivers is another issue. You know, he's fluid and aggressive, but larger wideouts test him. You know, they use their size, they use their catch radius, and they play through his frame. And it's part of the trade-off. You know, the aggressive corners can make plays, but aggressive corners also expose themselves. The key is balance for him. Can he stay aggressive without gambling too much? Can he challenge routes without opening windows behind him? And can he hold receivers who try to bully him at the catch point? You know, the drop into interceptions in 2025 is another concern. 3 interceptions in 2024 to none in 2025. He did have 8 pass breakups, so he was around the ball, but the takeaways matter. You know, he's shown he can. He just has to show it again. Moving into the Big Ten in 2026 is a big thing for him. He has experience, but it's a new environment, a new system, a new team, new coaching staff, new competition, new receiver types that he's not used to playing. You know, you don't see receivers like you see at Ohio State in the Big 12. You just don't. Going into 2026, this is his chance to take a sneaky draft profile and make it obvious. Checklist is pretty clear. Show the speed every week. Keep the missed tackles low. You know, continue to be a weapon in the run support. Prove you can handle the Big Ten receivers. You know, create a couple more takeaways. If you get just 2 or 3 takeaways again, show that you can do it. Show some nickel value. Show outside versatility if Wisconsin gives you the chance at those reps. And become a core special teams player if asked, because all that does is just show an extra step of versatility for you at the next level. NFL teams need nickel corners who can tackle. They need defensive backs who can catch. They need defensive backs who can run. They need players who can cover in space and fit the run. Robinson has that skill set. Now he just has to prove it at Madison. You know, currently sitting in 8.79 out of 10, number 73 overall, cornerback number 9. He is an experienced, twitchy, physical corner with high-end speed, strong instincts, excellent run support, reliable tackling, and a clear projection as a nickel or a scheme zone-dependent corner. He is smaller than ideal for a traditional outside corner, and big receivers can test him. The interception production dropped in 2025. And those are all concerning. But in today's football, nickel corner matters. And Javan Robinson has the athleticism, toughness, and tackling profile to make that role valuable for himself. What do you think about Javan Robinson? Is he one of the best nickel corners in the 2027 draft class going into college football this year? Is he valuable if he can only play as a nickel? Does a corner who doesn't have elite size but can still tackle, run, and cover have this kind of value to be a top 10 corner, a day 2 pick? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and follow along if you enjoy these player evaluations, because we're going to continue putting in this work on our road to 100 prospects before college football kicks off. As always, I'm Draft Yoda, Bill Workman, your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd, and we will catch you guys in the next one.